Are you ready?
Let's get after it. Oh, yeah.
Taco Fall! Taco Fall!
The Neon Ghost Show.
Yes, we are back with another episode of the Neon Ghost Show. Thank you for wasting some time with me. On this episode, the man himself, Mr. Koga, aka Joe DeRubio, sits down with me and we recap all things Rumble at the Reef from this past Saturday. We also discuss our upcoming events, some big announcements, and just all around general what it's like to be a promoter for Koga. So here is me and the man himself, Joe DeRubio.
You want to see a fight between the fences? It is time for Rumble at the Reef.
There he is.
All right, I had to hit that button. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Nice. How are you?
You know, I'm coming down off that post show kind of high. It's probably like a postpartum depression for a woman after having a baby. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I wanted, that's where I wanted to start. So before we start talking about actual fights, overall event, how do you feel Rumble on the Reef went?
I feel it went great. The casino was happy. The fights were really good.
Great.
I always look at it from a very critical lens. So sometimes I don't feel like I see it the way a fan sees it because I'm so occupied in that so many other aspects of the event itself that I don't celebrate it or appreciate it as much as I should. I'm already on to the next one. I'm filling out some medical forms right next to me for some injuries, and I just emailed the results into the MMA Underground and Tapology, so I'm putting a bow on it. But the show went great. Nobody was seriously hurt. I think we got a fractured hand and a weird knee injury that I'm just doing the paperwork for. But I feel good. But it's hard for me to settle into that.
Yeah, I have noticed at the couple of events I've been at with you, you're doing so much and taking care of so much. You unfortunately, this is your baby and your thing, you unfortunately don't get to be in the moment. Like when Ed and I are watching it and we're in the moment and I look over at you and you're either answering an email or someone's talking to you or you're doing something, it's rare for you to be in the moment even when you're cage side because you have so many other things going on. And I do wonder, you probably have to wait for a day or two to do the rewatch to then be like, holy crap, this is great.
Yeah, I wanted to get up early this morning and get on my treadmill and watch the fights and go over it with you, but I was sleeping. I needed to sleep. I
bet your adrenaline dump is nuts.
It's exhausting. It's a lot of it's mental gymnastics, but it's fun. I love it. I'm not complaining. I got the best job in the world, running my company and doing what I love to do and running my gym.
So from the first fight to the last fight, this card had action, drama, all of it. It was so great. The first fight, we had Caleb Wheeler, Alex Chavez, both guys making their in-cage debut, coming in 0-0, went right at each other, throwing punches. Caleb throws a massive right hand, knocks out Alex. Then you jump to the third fight, and we have Eduardo's brother come in the cage, do the same thing, knock his opponent out in under a minute, grabs the mic, says he wants to fight Caleb, avenge that knockout. And I do respect when fighters, they pay respects to their corners, their families, all that. But I also love when fighters take that opportunity. And I feel in our promotion, a lot of these young guys, they need to do that. They need to grab that mic, call out what they want, call out what they're looking for. And I respect the hell out of Eduardo for saying he wants Caleb, but he's going to knock him out next.
That's his little brother, right? He beat up his little brother.
Knocked his little brother
allowed to beat up my little brother, but me.
Yep. I thought that's exactly how you should have done that. That was great.
I thought that was cool. And we're going to make that fight happen. I'm sure of it.
Yes.
You know, we got to get Caleb on weight. He looks huge for 155. I know he missed it by, I don't have it in front of me.
I don't have it for me. He missed by a little bit. It wasn't like it was extreme, but he did miss it.
He did miss, and he's a big boy. But that'll be interesting, like to see, you know, the brother avenge his little brother, see Eduardo avenge his little brother, you know?
Yeah. And then in our second fight, do we know what happened with Jake's knee?
You know, I watched it and he was literally just walking backwards and like fell. It looked, I mean, he didn't, but it looked like he like took a dive. Like I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
But
I can vouch for that too. He definitely did not do that. It looked like it blew out or tore or something, like something weird happened.
It was called I talked to my doc and she's the best. And you could tell he was hurting cage side. Like he wasn't faking it. But when I watched it happen on Facebook, literally he just stepped back, grabbed his knee and like fell. Like, so,
have you talked to him since then? Like, is he okay and stuff?
Yeah, I got the paperwork now. Yeah, I think he's all right, but he's going to have to get it. It went back into place. So I'm not sure if it's just sore or swollen or if there's a surgery involved. You know, as I was starting to say, I think a lot of these guys might have minor injuries kind of going into the fight, a partial torn meniscus or things like that, where they're healthy, but they're not 100%. And then all of a sudden that 20% gets magnified under the lights. And
I don't want to take away from Paul's win. A win is a win in the record books, but I kind of also would like to see these guys run it back, just basis on the principle of how that fight went. It'd be good to see those guys run it back if and when they can.
Only if Paul can complete the backflip.
Jesus.
I mean, I was more worried about Paul breaking his neck, landing on his head on his failed backflip attempt. I was like, this guy's gonna break his neck. This guy's over here holding his knee. He's in definite pain. That was wild. That was a wild fight.
And then we had Derek and Leighton both came in, put on a hell of a fight. Derek comes away now 2-0 in the Koga cage. Leighton was never out of that fight at all. Game plan was a little, he could have done better with the game plan, but at no point was he out of that fight.
No, yeah, exactly. That's a perfect analysis. Our strategy was to sprawl and brawl and jab, not sit down on the two, not sit down on any heavy punches, and use Leighton's height and his reach. And we practiced sprawling and getting reversals in the from guard if you get taken down. Like we had a game plan and we knew where Derek's strengths were, and Matt Coble, great coach from Livewire. He's got a great young team up and coming. You always know your hands are full. I've matched Leighton up tough every time. He's way better than his record. I've always put him in deep because I believe in him.
And it showed after I saw him after the fight, and he didn't have like that forlorn lost look. He had he was in a fight. He knew he was in a fight, and he knew it went Derek's way, but okay, cool. Like that's what it was. Like he was disheartened that he lost, but he knows he didn't get his ass beat. He was in that fight.
Even though he didn't follow the game plan, like he was in the fight. Eventually he just got out wrestled and we never really got a chance to execute our game plan. What happened was he got rocked at the beginning of the round. Right? He got rocked.
Yep.
He sat down on his butt and then he was like, fight mode, adrenaline, 120%, no game plan. I'm just clinching, kneeing, pushing him into the cage, and we're like, separate, take a break. And that never happened. But even though he didn't execute the game plan, he was in the fight. But hats off to Derek and Matt Coble and Livewire MMA. That they beat us. They won that night. They were the better fighter.
Same thing going back to Livewire. This was Andy Waters' return to the Koga cage. His last fight was with Chance Paul, and he came out. We had the opponent change 3 weeks out, and I felt his opponent clearly watched game tape, did exactly what you need to do against a guy like Andy Waters. He kept the wide stance, kept the squat. It's hard to take a guy like that down. And Andy, again, maybe a little timid because he was back in the cage, didn't want to really pull the trigger on anything. because Javier has strength, and if you mess up on a strike or a takedown, you might go night.
Yeah.
But I think Andy's win did come from the fact of he was back in that cage. It went the distance. He still had smiles and all that, as he should, and his opponent had the perfect game plan to come in there against a guy like Andy Waters.
Yeah, he did execute a good game plan. I love Andy Waters, as do you. Like, we both love that kid. He plays to the crowd. You can tell he's just really having fun. Like, he's having fun in there. If I was his coach, I would try and get him to be mean. Like, get him to be mean. Like,
I don't know if you can though. Like Ed and I said that on the commentary. I don't know if you can with him because he likes getting punched. He likes being who he is. And as you said, I would like the coach to see the change in the game plan, but also, as you said, with Matt Coble, I'm sure he's tried. I'm sure he's said things. I'm sure Andy's worked on it, but when he gets in that cage, he's Andy goddamn Waters.
Yeah. Matt is a great coach. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. He's a great coach. He's got a good team. When I watch him fight, he's so having fun and so in the moment. Like, that's just the way he is and who he is.
But props to Javier and his team they came in with the game plan. They knew exactly what to do, and he did it.
Yep.
And then Jordan, I told you I was the first in the weight room before scales, all that. Jordan was the first fighter in the weight room. Nothing was there yet. So he just posted up in the corner waiting, and we were BSing. So flies in from Maui, first in the weight room, comes in the cage and scores a first round knockout. Will we see him in a Coca cage again?
Oh, we'll see Jordan again. I love that kid. Jordan, I picked Jordan up on Monday at the airport. He stayed with me all week and trained.
You told me, didn't he spend like 2 hours in the sauna reading or something?
With a lot of guys and watched them cut weight, and understandably they get cranky. Like, they get whiny, they get a little bitchy. Like, it's hard, right? They're not eating, they're not drinking, they're depleted, and for 48 hours they go through hell. And Jordan is just like smiling the whole time, happy, like he's just putting in the work. And he did it pretty easy. I mean, he did it right. He started a few days out, got a few pounds away, and then woke up Friday morning and just knocked off the last 3-4 pounds. And he was there and just showed up laying on the floor ready. Like, when can I weigh in? When can I drink? When can I hydrate? We also had a nice win from Ali Al Hamdani. He's been in the cage a couple times for Koga, representing Arlington Kickboxing, and Landon Showalter. He got a nice triangle taken down and just
that was a beautiful
triangle
in the scramble.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was beautiful. That was like, I didn't see, the scramble was solid. And then as soon as that leg came around, Ed and I both were like, there's a triangle, and he cinched it up. And it was just like, you could tell that kid knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he knew exactly what he wanted to do right then and there. It was quick and it was tight, and it was over in 2 minutes and 19 seconds.
Let me ask and again, I'm never being disrespectful to a fighter. I am speaking from where I was sitting, and Ed said it, and I can't not disagree with him. We had Ben Wada and Robert Morrison. Wada had a long layout from fighting in the cage. He had his mind right, his body right. Said he was where he wanted to be. He was coming in this fight. When I interviewed Robert Morrison, he had told me, he was 0-3. He was looking to get the win or get the win. His gym had closed down. He moved up. He was training with Livewire. When I interviewed him, he's ready to go, happy about all stuff. But there was just something, and Ed noticed that when he was walking out to the cage, he really kind of gave off a vibe that he didn't want to be there.
He didn't want to be there. I think, he wasn't ready for that fight. Something happened to him pre-fight where he just felt he wasn't ready. And I think they just kind of went out there and went through the motions. It wasn't the good fight that I thought it would be. The Robert Morrison that I've seen show up in the past didn't show up at this fight, but I don't want to, let's just leave it at that. That's
what I'm saying. I don't want to discredit him or nothing. There was just something that day that it just didn't feel right. 10. McKinnon fought his fight all night, and he just kept Matt.
Let's go back to the Mackin fight for a minute. I want to talk about Jordan Mackin. So after the Jordan Mackin fight, Christian Garcia came up to me and said he wants to run it back. I don't know if think it was an early stoppage or what. But he wants to run it back, and Jordan said he's totally game to run it back. I have great respect for Jordan's coach, Ivan Salivary. He wanted to run it back.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wow. Okay. You want to do it again?
I don't think it wasn't an early stoppage as much as it was Chris Cope looking out for him, because when he caught that punch, you could see on his way down, he was out. And I think it was one of those things where it was a flash knockout, and then when he hit the ground, he woke back up.
Yeah.
But you do have, like, he was out on his way down.
Been really good in your assessment, Robbie. I totally agree. Like, he was out, he kind of hit the canvas, he turned around and woke back up, and his hands were up, and he was doing the right thing. I think Chris just saved him from another teed up on a golf ball shot.
But I mean, if they want to run it back, I'm game for them running it back.
He was kind of hands up protecting himself. I thought Chris made a good decision and protected the fighter. He was really just ready to get stuffed one more time, but let him run it back. That's great.
Let him run it back.
So we'll probably see that either February 3rd at Clearwater or February 24th back at Tulalip. And we can figure out that we'll go through what we got coming up next. But yeah, we should probably maybe see that again.
We should definitely see that again. Okay, so we had McKendon fought his fight the entire fight. He kept Matt right where he wanted him. Ed and I were saying it. Matt was having trouble cutting off the cage and getting at him to make it a dogfight. McKendon was doing a great job keeping his range, keeping his distance. Again, both guys neither guy was out of the fight. It just, McKendon knew exactly what he was doing.
My judges had to work Saturday. Like they
did.
Had to work. Like I literally looked at my partner, my buddy Ron, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to judge that fight. It was pretty close. I thought McKenday had better ring generalship and just kind of controlled the tempo and probably did a little bit more damage, but it was close. Matt had his moments. They both scored a few times. It was a really even fight. It was a really good fight, but yeah, Matt couldn't seem to get in the rhythm that he wanted to. Both those guys are super well coached from Pacific Northwest legends. McKenday is from Diaz Combat Sports, Ryan the Lion Diaz. I refereed Ryan the Lion Diaz's first pro fight at the Lucky Eagle Casino. And I think it was like 2000. He fought Charlie Pearson, owner of Charlie's Combat Club, who's now up with one championships and moved up and, doing well over there. He still runs his gym in Everett.
Let me, I want to segue real quick because we've talked before. You've been in this game for a long time. How does it feel now, whether you've trained with these guys, refed them, judged, whatever? There is a lot of guys you've come up with in this game to the point that they are now coaches and owners of gyms, and you're having their fighters on their promotion. How does that feel?
It's like I said earlier, I don't celebrate things a lot. I'm kind of always on the grind, but when I do sit back and appreciate what you just said and the relationships that I have with Ed Herman and Ivan Salivary and Charlie Pearson and Fabiano Scherner, these guys that are running American Top Team and, C3, it feels good. It makes me, and it validates that I know that I'm doing things right. I'm in a business that's hard to survive, and I'm on my 13th year. We just tucked away our 76th show. So when I do stop and think about it, I was having drinks with Reese Andy, who was an IFL fighter, Seattle Tiger Sharks back in the day, and we were just reminiscing old times. And it feels good to be in the game and have the respect of my peers, because I respect the hell out of these guys. And
they clearly, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. There clearly is a respect level with the fact of how you said, Ivan Salivary always has fighters on your card. Diaz Sport always has fighters on your card. If you were a shady promoter, or if they were crappy coaches, crappy fighters, that wouldn't continue to happen. So it's your business putting it out there, what you've done, these guys being great coaches, but it's also the relationships you've nurtured over the years with these guys, the trust level you have with all these guys to keep coming back and doing this.
Yeah. I just do my best. I want to do my best. I really want to grow the Pacific Northwest fight scene. Like I said this at the beginning of the rules meeting, the House meeting when we talk about procedure and where to go and weigh-ins and how to get your tape and gauze and stuff. When I was refereeing back in the day, Pacific Northwest was very dominant in the UFC. We had Ivan, we had Ed, we had Chris Liebman, we had Randy Couture, we had Matt Lindland. We had a lot of guys representing from the Pacific Northwest in the UFC. And like as a promoter now, like I'm looking on Tapology and on these websites, and I'm like, man, we got to grow and develop the talent because it's getting thinner. I won't say it's bad, but it's getting sparser. It's less and less. I believe a lot of that is because these organizations like Back East, they have college wrestling, and to support that so they can fall back on that. And we have no college wrestling in Washington. We have, I think, Oregon State is the only local program, the Beavers. So it makes it harder, and I really want to provide a platform for these guys to grow on, to do social media like this and get these guys excited about the exposure that we can provide for them, keep elevating the game, and kind of put the Pacific Northwest back on the map. Is like, hey, man, we got tough fighters out here we can represent, and we can go toe-to-toe with these other guys back east, and that's really my goal and my objective.
You were saying your judges had to put in work, and they definitely had to put in work in our next two fights. In our co-main event, it was Trevor Wills versus Jose Henderson or Hernandez, and Jose did come in 2 pounds overweight. Will still accepted the fight, as of course he would. But I noticed, and you're the promoter, so you don't have to say anything here if you don't want to. I'm just going to speak again from being on the outside. Right after weigh-ins, Wills took to his social media and started talking shit about his opponent missing weight. And then he had posted this thing when Conor McGregor was fighting, I think, Jose Aldo, I can't remember, but it was Conor pointing to him and saying that the man didn't respect the game and he was going to take his life in that cage. And Wills had put the caption of, "This is what I'm doing to my opponent for not missing weight." And he was talking shit, as he should, and that's fine. We get in that fight. It was a dogfight the whole way. Neither of those guys were out of that fight. It goes to the judges. And when the fight was over, Ed and I both said, I wouldn't want to be a judge here. And either way the judges go here, I'm not going to disagree with it. It went Jose's way. Trevor, again, has been on Instagram, and some of his fans have been on Instagram all saying it was a robbery and this, that. And again, I am not taking anything from Trevor. He fought a hell of a fight. It could have went either way. Both those guys put on a hell of a fight. We had a dude fresh off The Ultimate Fighter coming in. We had a guy from Ivan Salivary come in, and they put on a hell of a fight against each other.
That fight was an absolute barn burner, smoking dog fight, back and forth. It was a great fight. Great fight. Very entertaining back and forth. Going back to the weight cut incident, to be a professional, you need to make weight and hit the mark. And sometimes you miss a little bit. Like, that doesn't, I'm not making an excuse, but Trevor is justified in being frustrated because he did what he was supposed to do.
Agreed.
Also, these guys, like I picked up Jordan at the airport on Monday. Trevor flew in on Thursday, the day before. Ivan's guys were in Seattle at home, cutting weight in Seattle, and then they got to drive up a 2-hour drive that day, kind of during traffic. That can throw you off a little bit. Sometimes you think you might burn a pound in the drive. I'm always hearing stories of guys getting in the car with, sweatsuits on and turning the heater up super high and trying to float that last pound. It's difficult. It's difficult for these guys. They have jobs, they have lives, and they're not at the big show level where they're all flying in a hotel, getting hotel put up 3 days before. Some of them are trying to do a lot on Friday. So I'm not making any excuses. The fighters should always make weight. I can see and have empathy for the challenges that they have along the way. And I understand Trevor's frustration and wanting to talk shit for not making weight, for missing weight. That just makes the fight more exciting. as far as the fight goes, it could have went either way. I had it the other way, honestly. In my mind, I thought Trevor had a little bit more ring control over the course of those 15 minutes. He was dominating more. His first takedowns, he didn't do a lot with, but the later ones he did. But then Jose had these flashes of brilliance where he put him in a catch.
Yep.
Had a submission attempt that looked really tight and was exciting. And, you know, how do you score for being in danger for, I don't know, 15, 30 seconds versus the other minute, 2 minutes of the guys controlling you, punching you. But I said the same thing. I wouldn't want to be my judges. They had to work. They were mentally tired, I'm sure.
And again, not taking anything from Trevor. He came in, he put on a show, Jose put on a show, but it's like the famous words Dana White says, don't let it go to the judges.
Yeah, that's why they say it. I mean, somebody's always going to be pissed.
Yeah, fair.
You know, Matt Coble yelled at me after the Andy Waters decision, like, that's garbage, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, that your guy clearly lost that fight, in my opinion. He didn't, you know, Jose had a good plan and he sat down and didn't get taken down and outperformed him in the striking.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't really, it was decisive to me. Leighton Tunes lost to Derek was decisive to me. There's no doubt, right?
Yes.
Trevor and Hernandez, like, I went like this to Ivan after I saw the fight. I went, yep, it's going to be a coin toss. Like, that's a really close fight. That was my take on it.
Yep. And then we had another one, our main event.
Wow.
Filled with drama from the beginning. We had Dex had an emergency. He's not making weight. Darren Smith Jr. is going to come in. They're both at a catch weight now. We decided, I don't know if you watched the replay yet, but you told me it was going to be for the Pacific Northwest pound for pound champion. Ed and I decided that was way too much for us to say. So we just started calling it the PNW BMF belt. And then when those guys fought, that proved why we started calling it the Pacific Northwest bad motherfucker belt. Those dudes put on a great performance.
I could actually go on my phone and show you. I have a BMF belt, like, being designed just kind of like for that type of scenario. Pacific Northwest BMF, it's actually being made. That was a great fight. That was it. You know, sometimes these fights fall off and you end up making better fights. I think that was a better fight than Nero Montenegro. It was more entertaining. It had more drama to it. And, Darren Smith is a warrior. Like, he had to lose 13 pounds in 2 days, took it on short notice, was clearly exhausted.
Oh, God.
There
were times that when Ed and I said there were times, yes, both men clearly exhausted. Darren was exhausted, but there were times that I also felt he was playing into that. He wanted Brian to think he was exhausted because then he'd be like in a lull and then all of a sudden just start throwing hammers, dude. And then, so here's my question for you as a promoter. Rad Cash was our announcer. It was his first, I think, MMA event ever. So I'm not taking anything from him, but when he announced it was 3 rounds, I looked at you and I said, this is 5, right? And I saw Chris come to you and say, this is 5. And you were like, of course it is. It's a championship fight. And so I did correct it on the live stream. But then after that 3rd round, Brian was in the corner talking to his corner on stuff. And Darren thought it was over. But I felt Darren and his team have been in this long enough. How did they not put together like, hey, we're going another round or 2 more rounds?
He heard the announcer announce 3 and he was like, oh, I thought, like, that's what he told me when I gave him his check. He heard the announcer announce 3 rounds. He's like, oh, maybe they changed it. I mean, that's an easy mistake to make.
Completely, yes.
Both parts. The announcer announced it. He assumed what the announcer said was correct. Brad Cash did a great job, by the way. He's affiliated with the radio up there up north and affiliated with Silver Reef. He did a good job announcing for us.
Oh, he did a great job. It was good.
But yeah, man, I think Darren was kind of playing to the crowd. He put his hands up, dropped to his knees. It was all dramatic. And then I'm like, oh man, he thinks he's done. I had to go in there and be like, hey, bro, you're not done. Like, you got 2 more to go. I literally went back. I got on my phone. I went on my DocuSign and like looked and made sure that like I didn't make a mistake, right? Like, as you said, I'm doing so many things, but he signed on and initialed for 5 rounds for the Pacific Northwest BMF pound for pound title. And it was great. He was the number 1 ranked welterweight. And Neuro is the number 2 ranked lightweight. And, they met in the middle and we made a great show, right? Like,
dude, it was the whole show was good. And then to have that fight cap it off was just like, oh my, like Ed and I so many times kept looking at each other, just being like, oh my God, this is so much fun.
Yeah, that was a fun fight. The pro fights were good, man. They were all good. Even the amateurs were good. We started it off with a couple quick knockouts, got the fight going. Then we had some kind of slow grinders that went the distance, and you really had to think who did enough to win that fight. The Matt Eustace McKinday fight was they were like carbon copies of each other.
Yeah.
One guy like a ba 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 low kick, and the other like a ba 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 low kick, and they were literally like just trading scoring combinations. Like, I get you, okay, I'll get you back. I got you, okay, you got me back. Like, that fight was incredibly close, very even, very skilled. Both of them are very skilled. Matt Eustace is going to be a force to be reckoned with. He's 1-1 now. I think he's going to go back to 145. He was 1-0 when we saw him win at Clearwater with the calf kick against James Pollard.
Yep.
And he went up a weight class because I really couldn't find anybody to fight him. And he cut so hard to make 45 that his coaches were okay with him going 55. After talking to his coach, Reese Andy, he's like, we got to get him to decide where he wants to be, because at this pro level, you can't jump around anymore.
Yeah, fair. So now that, as you said, we're wrapping up Rumble at the Reef, we're putting a bow on it. I found out, I thought it was a typo when I'm in the office with you and Wendy. We have a fight February 3rd, February 23rd, and then March 9th, I think.
Yeah. It's so intimidating, honestly.
We're going to be putting in a lot of work coming up.
Yeah. Tulalip was originally scheduled for January. And then they needed to switch it on me a couple weeks ago. They actually sent me an email earlier, but I think I've been so tied up with family stuff that I just kind of slipped through the cracks. And then she's like, hey, send me the agreement for this date. And I'm like, okay. And then I looked at my calendar and it was like, boom. It was 1 month, which is very doable. But now we're literally 2 weeks apart, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later. Then we'll have a little break and be back in June, I think.
July.
But it's going to be tough. So I'm already on my match. I'm already putting it together, figuring out how to stagger it.
When we have our normal events, like our last event was Tulalip in July. We have it on Saturday. Sunday, you got to check on fighters. You still have business to do. Monday is maybe the come down. I always assume Tuesday, Wednesdays when you and Landon maybe start putting feelers out there, building for our next one, which is, a month or 2 months away or stuff like that. We already have one coming up, 2 coming up in February. So was it Sunday morning? Did you have to start already, obviously checking on Fighters Lab, but did you have you already started building for our February 3rd card?
I lay in bed at night and look at my phone and I just start kind of building it, and I cut and paste clips of Tapology and send it to my notes. And so I'm always kind of working. And once I've kind of been working on it since I knew I had 3 shows in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I've been throwing ideas on the wall. Focus on Rumble on the Reef. Rumble Leaf is done. Okay, let's see these ideas.
Yeah, what's going to stick, and then who's fighting when, on other promotions in that area. Like when you're a month apart, maybe you can use the same guy a month apart, but I'm not banking on anybody that fights on February 3rd to jump over to February 24th. or really even maybe March 9th. Like, so, like, because you're in communication with these guys and everything's peaks and valleys. Some teams are like on a hot streak, and then sometimes I'll call coaches and they'll be like, nobody's like training right now. Everybody's testing to be a fireman, or so and so's got to
Getting ready for the holidays.
so and so's in school, and these guys are young guys trying to balance making it to the big show, but most of them are just kind of regional fighters, and they're managing their lives and their occupations, and so it ebbs and flows.
Do we have any maybe possible announcements that we're looking at for February? Or at least a fighter or so that'll be on the card. Maybe we don't know
Albert
the opponent yet.
Tadabosian is going to co-main or main event Tulalip February 24th. I have a young Michael McCauley, who was going to fight on this show from Bellingham, who will be debuting as a pro, wants to take a run at Albert, has no fear or of his record or experience. He's like, has over 10 amateur fights, but he's debuting as a pro against a seasoned fighter in Albert, and they didn't hesitate. They're just like, we were going to do it. I was going to hype it up at the show, but Albert went home early after he was cornering Jose Milano, his teammate. They went home early. I couldn't put it together. And I kind of decided it's probably smart not to like be at one casino and start telling them,
Yeah, that's fair.
go to another casino. I'm like, we can do this on now.
Yeah.
Albert is going to be back. I heard rumblings that Anthony Hamilton, there's a specific fighter that he wants to fight that feels like will complete his career. Because he's a Pacific Northwest native, and there's a Pacific Northwest fighter that he's wanted to fight for years. That fight fell off a couple of times. That guy, just like I talked about, is on the upswing and back in the game. And Anthony's talking to his wife and his family about if we can make that happen. So potentially we could do Anthony Hamilton versus Jordan Curry from Coeur d'Alene area.
Wait, so are we breaking this right now?
I mean, we're talking about it. It's up to Anthony.
Of course.
If he wants to be the Tom Brady of MMA in the Pacific Northwest and go from the New England Patriots.
We're not going to argue with that. We'll do that.
One more shot with the Tampa Bay and be like, I want to fight this guy and win one more belt.
So Anthony's retirement fight was at our last event in Tulalip.
Yes.
Supposed to fight a guy. That dude flaked out like 5 days before.
Yeah.
We called Matt. Matt came in, took the fight. That was Anthony's last fight. He did take the gloves off. He hung him up, but he feels maybe
There's
he wants to punch
out
this
there
one.
that he wants to put the cherry on his banana split Sunday and be like, these are all the guys that I beat. And he hasn't beat Jordan Curry. Jordan Curry would be a good fight. Jordan Curry is game. I messaged him the other day. In fact, I even said, Jordan, go online, talk a little smack. Maybe we can get him over the hump. And he's like, nah, that's not my style.
You know what, though? In the
which I respect, by the way.
Oh, complete respect. On the Koga page, I had posted that Brian and Darren was for the Pacific Northwest BMF belt. Hamilton actually commented on it and said, I'm pretty sure the King should hold that belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love him.
So that's a possibility. Anthony's just got to determine if he wants to give it one last final go and get his family on board. He's very active in his son's
Wrestling career.
Yeah. There's another fighter named RJ Hoyt, High Heat Hoyt. He is from the Peninsula. He will be fighting on February 3rd at Clearwater. He's from that side of the water. He's a 145-pounder. He has his own business. He's a tree arborist. He cuts down trees and limbs trees, and he's taken a couple years off to focus on his family. Now he's coming back at 170. RJ is a very entertaining fighter. He's fun to watch. I have a Mike LeBlanc out of Tacoma, trains at Bang Muay Thai. He wants to make his debut at 205. He is fought on the Rumble at the Ridge way back in Snoqualmie like 2010,
Like 12. Yeah.
13, somewhere in there. Mike's going to be on the card. Dex wants back on, but I just told Dex I'm not. He's like, I can make 155. I kind of messed up on my diet. And I'm like, Dex, even if I believed you, I don't think any of your opponents or their coaches are going to put in a camp. Like, I don't think he can do it anymore. His kidneys shut down on him because his mind says yes, but his body says no.
Yeah. Can we had talked about this in the weight room, and maybe you know better than me. I don't understand why, even in the big leagues, why does it go from 155 to 170? Why can't there be a 165 title?
You mean like something in between 55 and lightweight and welterweight?
Yeah. Why is that not a thing?
I don't know. I can do my own thing. I've often thought of this. I've often thought of just doing like wrestling weight classes, 40, 35, 45, 55, 65.
I think that opens it up to a lot more possibilities, fighters, belts that we could hype. Like, I've never understood why the UFC and places don't have it exactly like that.
I don't either. Tradition. I mean, boxing has weight classes every 10 pounds and has belts every 10 pounds. I think I'm going to do it. These guys don't need to be killing each other, cutting weight at this level, right? Like, I just don't believe it's just too hard on the body. Like I have Nicasio. He's the number 2 ranked lightweight at the amateur level, Nicasio Ortiz. I've had him fight at 55 just because I can't really find fights for him at 45. So I've had to fight him up, and he makes that pretty easy. He probably walks at 65. He tapers his diet down. He starts walking at like 62. And the last 5 come off like really, if his weight cut is easy at 55, and he's made 45, and it's a little more challenging, but even then it's not killing him like I've seen other people kill him themselves. Like, I don't think these guys should be killing themselves at that level. Like, half the battle is the weight cut for the majority of these guys is beating that scale. And then they're like, what's the toll on your body and how is it affecting you 24 hours later? And you really can't tell. Like,
or a guy like Dex, like, I interviewed him, we were building up to it, we were going, and then a week out, how you said, his kidneys decided, hey, we're not going. So there's things like that where, like, hey, maybe he can't make 55. He might be able to be just as good at 65 if we had that.
Yeah. And Dex, to his credit, like, he's disciplined. He hires a nutritionist. If he does anything wrong, he overtrains. He's like, well, I blew it. I kind of like, I fasted for a couple days and kind of thinks I'll do more. I'll get extra credit and do more than my nutritionist says and not eat. And his body, failed him. Like, he's not cooperating. So we're going to do that. We're going to go 10-pound increments. I mean, at the regional level, I think, or I can just keep doing kind of catch weights at 65.
Catch weights is fine, but like I said, I think it'd be fine. It would make for exciting fights. We'd have another title out there too.
So
like,
I just do away with 170, go 65, 75, 85, 205.
I mean, they're all already on. But then if you're going to do that, then I guess, yeah, because it's 55, 65, 75, 25. Yeah, I think we should do that.
Just have like 8 divisions in 10-pound increments.
Why not? And then when we want to,
the pro level, I think it's not going to look like, if you're trying to go 155 and you have like 4 wins at like 165, it's like, which way are you going to go? Are you
either way? That, I think, to me, if I was, let's say, Bellator PFL, if I'm seeing this guy being a murderer at 165 on the pro level, well, we bring him to our organization. That shows he can either go to 55 or he can go to 70, because there's not, it's not dude weighs 170 and he's dropping to 55. It still gives them the option to go up or down as they move on if they want to. And, or like we said, if a guy wants to fight at 165, then maybe he decides, no, hey, I'm better at 155 or I'm better at 170. Well, then that's still there for him rather than draining so much.
Like, I had a long conversation with Reese Andy. We had a great time after the show, and he was like Matt Eustace, he's right in the middle.
Yeah.
He's in the middle. of 45 and 55. He was clearly smaller than Makinde, but he either needs to put on some muscle and stay at 55 and try and put on more muscle, and how does that affect him? Does the more muscle slow him down and he loses some of his speed, or does he go down and like shave off some muscle? So, and that's a process. That's like a 3-month process to go 5 pounds one way or the other.
Yeah.
At least 3 months. And as a promoter, you're going to have doubt as to like where this person is. Is he a 70 pounder or is he a 55 pounder? And is that 5 pounds can make a big difference long term in how they cut weight, and also how old they are. Like when they get older, these guys have a harder time making weight.
Yeah, fair.
But we can do it. I mean, the regional level.
That's why I had asked you when we stepped aside. I was like, can we? Because we had talked about it Friday, and then Saturday I was like, can we just? And I'm not saying let's make a 121 pound weight. It's just, can we have the one in the middle? I think it would help us finding more fights, making guys more comfortable, because then they won't have to drain so much weight. If we can just add the one between 55 and 70, if we could just add that, as I think all pro MMA think they should have that, I think it would help fighters in the long run.
I'm going to do it on an as needed basis. Like when I've offered guys, like I've offered Ivan Salivary originally. I'm like, let's just do a catch. I was trying to find Jose Hernandez a fight, and there's just not a lot of 125ers around, but I had some 135ers that were going to do a catch, and I offered it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do a catch. Like I got them ready to go, even though they came up a little bit short. Now I sound like the wise guy in hindsight, but like, point I'm trying to make is these guys mentally get stuck on the number. Like I'm a 125er, I can make it. That's my numbers. That's where I'm going to succeed. And to put something in the middle, a lot of guys, they just don't like it. They feel like they want to be bigger on fight day.
That's fair.
Some guys feel good about it. They're like, I want to make the cut because I'm bigger. Like Jordan Mackin, what did he say? He was almost 150 pounds when he fought.
Yeah. Or that's like Trevor. He was
48.
Trevor Wade
on fight day.
Trevor Wade right on the dot 125 when I weighed him. The next day before fight, he put on social media, he was like 138 or something.
Yeah.
And that is the business. That's what these guys do, but it's just like, God damn.
They're kind of hung up on it. When I wrestled in high school, looking back, I wish I would have went 158, but I cut to 148 and I killed myself and ended up getting beat up. And by the end of the year, I didn't have the success my senior year that I had my junior year. And I was just a year older, a little bit bigger, and probably not as disciplined as I could have been, and made it hard on myself. But in my mind, I was like, I'm 148. That's where I'm going to succeed. I think a lot of it is just their coach, and the kind of is their coach an old school guy, or things are changing. I really like the way One Championships does their no weight cutting, body fat testing, like they do at the high school level, the WIAA. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of weight cutting, so I have no problem putting a catch weight out there at 165. If both guys are willing, like, let's sell it. Let's do it. Let's book it. I don't know that I need like a 165 pound weight class proper, but like, sometimes you got to pivot and adjust.
As we did with our main event.
Yeah.
So it was a solid night of fights. This place was sold out. Everyone was there. Rumble at the Reef was great. There's a bow on that. We have an event February 23rd, February 24th, 2 weeks later in March. You're busy putting those fights together. Let's hope our next cards are just as good as this one.
Yeah, they'll be good. Yeah, that's my goal. My goal is to put on great fights, hope that nobody gets hurt. It is the fight business. People can get hurt. We had a guy almost break his neck doing a backflip, hurting himself, like, for crying out loud. Like, it's wild. So I'm always counting my blessings. I want the guys to be healthy. I want them to continue to fight. I want to continue to provide a good platform for these guys to get better and get paid and get the experience that they need. what I provide is pivotal. I look at myself as a feeder organization for the UFC. That's my goal for Bellator, for PFL. I know exactly where my target market is. I know the exact venues I want to pursue and how to build it. And we're looking at getting more sponsorship to get more dollars and increase the fighter pay, increase everything. I learned a lot when I was bought out by Alliance in 2016 and had to fly back east and sit in board meetings with these other successful organizations, CFFC and Shogun and these guys back east. And I got to see why they have more depth with the college wrestling and the density of the population and, New York and Philadelphia, and everything's all so condensed. There's just a lot of good talent over there. So I'm committed to growing the talent in the Pacific Northwest, highlighting the fighters in the Pacific Northwest, and get these guys to the UFC or PFL or Bellator or Combates America, get them to the next step.
You're clearly, obviously, respect level for this game shows with the passion you're talking right there. It shows with the coaches, guys like Ed Herman, who they're willing to spend the time to drive up, do an event with us, to drive back down that night to get on a plane to go about Brazil. And given the fact of there's a reason Koga's been around for 13 years. Clearly you're in this for the long haul. You love this. You know what you're doing. There's a reason it's still out there and still going.
Yeah, that says a lot, man. Ed's a stud. Like, I even was like, kind of give him a pass. Like, hey, dude, you sure you want to, I can get somebody else. Like, Anthony Hamilton will commentate. I can get another commentator. But I think Ed really enjoys it. And I like you and Ed working together. So we're working towards getting you guys a bigger TV deal. You and Ed, get ready. Get that beard. We'll get you a commercial.
I'll get it nice and trim.
Beard wear. We'll tighten that up. Get some sponsorship there. I'm having fun with it, man. There's so many aspects to build in my business as far as increasing sponsorship, the relationship I have set up with Element 7, my new production team, and now I can see the quality that I can produce. Now this is the first time I've ever had my 2014, my next year's schedule laid out in quarter 3 of this year, quarter 4. I've never been this ahead of the game. I'm bringing in some sponsorship people. We're elevating the production. We're pushing for a UFC Fight Pass deal or a template where the fighters can get a percentage of, if I watch the fight and I want to go watch you fight, I can give you a credit and they can get a little piece. I realize you got to take care of everybody. You got to take care of the fighters. You got to take care of the sponsors. And that part's fun for me. I'm learning as I go. And I'm not content to just put on little shows. And I'm trying to build it and take it to the next level versus just make more money for myself. I could just stay right where I'm at and try and squeeze it and squeeze more for my personal finances. But I see where I'm at, and I've seen what can be done with these other productions. And when I learned a lot being part of Alliance, like I said earlier, I want to go one step bigger. I'm
gonna say something. If you tell me to cut it out, that's fine, or don't say anything at all. But I'm gonna talk shit about other promotions because Koga's the best. Everyone should fall in line. But I have noticed that other promotions I don't ever see promoting on social media. They don't have live streams. They don't have things there was a fight regionally at another casino on Saturday night, that we had ours. I saw some of theirs on social media, and I saw no build up, no nothing. And to me, that shows why fighters should want to be with us, because at least we're getting them exposure. We're getting them out there. You're not in a gym with 100 people there, and the only footage getting out there is people's cell phone footage. And I understand when you're beginning, I'm not knocking Ed Herman and his people have started theirs in Vancouver. And I've talked to him about it, and he knows when I talk like this, I'm not disrespecting him because he's growing his. And I've told him, once they bring live stream, he wants me to come down there, run my mouth. Like I'm there for him. As long as I'm not busy with you, I'll be there for him. But I've noticed ones that I've seen that name before. They've been around long enough. Why aren't they at the level we're at? And I honestly go, oh, it's because they don't have Joe. That's the only reason. Because I've been around you enough times now that it doesn't matter what anyone, coach, fighter, judge, it doesn't matter what someone's issue is. Yes, you're busy as hell. We all know you're busy as hell. You will drop everything and address, what's going on right now? What do you need? You'll handle it. You'll deal with it. Or, hey, let me have you talk to Robbie or have you talk to Wendy. But then you'll circle back and make sure that got taken care of, right? Because you're doing all this other stuff. So I look at these other promotions. I think my only thing is, oh, they don't have Joe and Wendy. That's why they're not where they're at.
Well, it was the Wendy. The Wendy.
She is great. She's amazing.
On the rails and the glue that keeps it together. I'll just say this, man. I don't really worry about what other promotions do. It's hard to not take things personal or maybe get frustrated with other teams that you're like, why are they even supporting that? But they got to do what they got to do, and their fighters got to fight when they fight. And when I talk about the ebbs and flows, sometimes they're just going to go try and get a W on another show and get paid. And it's not a personal thing. It's just a business thing. But so I have to work hard. I'm human. Like I take it personal and I have to like push things aside and just be like, I'm committed to doing the best job that I can. And I don't care what they do. I'm just going to do what I do better. And I think people are starting to see that the exposure that they're getting, they get new gloves every time they fight. They're not using these old beat up gloves. I just want to pay attention to detail, do things better, take it to the next level, and know that the money that I invest back in the fighters and back into combat games, when I push it to the next level, that I'll get rewarded, but the fighters will get rewarded too. Like I've been to that next level when I was with the Alliance, and I want to get back. I want to be recognized by Dana White everybody coming out of the Pacific Northwest is through combat games. I'd love to work with Ed, and I do work with Ed and his partner, Brandon Miller. Like, maybe we figure out how to network. Cause I like Ed and Brandon a lot.
I think that's the thing, going back to what we said a minute ago, is you could be the guy that I'm doing this, I'm putting all this work, like this is mine and everybody can have a piece, but that's not you. You are, no, hey, I'm where I'm at because of all of you fighters, coaches, commentators, everyone has helped put their time and invest into you and Wendy and Koga. So your natural thing is if I'm going up here, y'all are coming up with me. Right. Because that's just what makes this what it is. That's how it's grown. That's how it is rising tides bring all ships. Like, come on, guys, let's go.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, my wife told me, like, I know what venues I'm after, and then my wife's like, honey, you're not going to get every casino. Like, you can't do everyone. Like, we're at 80% bandwidth right now. There's a couple that I got my eyes on, and I want to strategically spread them out. So, like, even though we're 2 weeks apart, coming up February 3rd, February 24th, like, it's the other side of the peninsula down in Poulsbo, Bremerton. You're going to go across the water and an hour north to Tulalip. It's its own market. Then we're going to go another 2 hours north, or we're going to go Cedro Woolley, Arlington, and tap in up there. So there's a couple other spots that are strategically located that I can do shows a month apart, 2 weeks apart, and do my job and perform for the casinos.
I really feel, so I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, and I've read like all the old school books and stuff like that, and being a part of Koga and seeing how it all works, I really feel like it's like the old school wrestling days where there's the territories. Some people are comfortable staying in their territory and staying where they're at. Those that are willing to take the big risks and venture out, how you just said, cross the peninsula, cross the water, then back up to Tulalip, then way up north back in Canada. Those are different markets. Those are different areas where the people will come, but then we have the live stream where anyone can watch. That's how you grow and how you get it a bigger thing, more eyes on it, but also catering to those local areas. But I have one question, and you and I have I sent you an email of in 2012. I don't know how I got to be a judge for you in Rumble at the Reef. Will we ever see a Koga cage in the Snoqualmie Casino?
Yeah, that's up to them. I don't have control, but that's one of the venues that I would love to go back to now that they're building a hotel and they're building a new venue. And then it's just they're not ready yet. They're in the middle of rebuilding. But
that's on the market.
On my LinkedIn
like to do on there?
page, and I'm keeping notes. Like I told you, I stay up at night and I look at my phone and go on LinkedIn and tap in and stay connected and continue to build relationships with the people that Koga needs to build relationships with to, land those venues. So I love Snoqualmie. I started in Snoqualmie.
I know we've talked about it. That's why I'm like, and then the fact that I got to judge for you there, 20 years ago now? No, 10 years ago now. I was thinking that would be a full circle thing if Koga gets to put on an event there, Joe and Wendy are putting it on, and I get to be running my mouth. That'd be a full circle thing. Like, can we go to Snoqualmie, please?
Yeah, no, it could be, I think their hotel is going to be done next year. Clearwater's building an amphitheater. They want to do more. They want to do an outdoor show. So yeah, everything's possible.
The casino thing, that also goes back to your relationships is how many times have we been to Clearwater? How many times have we been to Silver Reef? We're going back to Tulalip. Like that also shows the respect you have with casinos that they have for you. And even like business wise, there's no bad blood business wise. Cause if there was, Koga wouldn't be invited back or Koga wouldn't want to go back. And look, Tulalip calls you, says, hey, we want to do this. You don't hesitate. And you're like, oh, fuck, that's 2 weeks from whatever. We'll figure it out and do it because you want to honor what they've done for you.
Yeah.
And that all still shows in this business, the respect level, the business level, everything you have to do. And this is why you and Wendy, everyone at Koga, the level of professionalism we bring and respect we bring, how you said in the fighters meetings, every time I've been in there with you, the first thing you tell the fighters is respect the venue you're at. These people are not your moms. Pick up after yourselves. Don't leave your bloody crap laying around. Make it so that they want us to come back. And look, we're going back to all these ones we've been to for a reason.
Yeah, it's a team effort. I mean, I have great respect for the fight teams. I have great respect for the fighters. And I respect and understand the casino and what they're after and their entertainment. We're entertainment. We're combat sports entertainment. I mean, I'm a combat sports entertainment provider. I have a good grasp of the casino industry and what they're after and understand the nuances that MMA brings to them. That is much different product than anything else that they deal with. It's way different. It's way scarier. It's more work. It's more moving parts. It's more people. It's more risky. It's all those things. So communicating to your marketing director or your entertainment director that you understand these things, but my job is to facilitate through that for them. So like, I'm just that one booking manager that brings them this great product that sells out their show, whether it's, Thunder from Down Under or whatever it is. You see these guys, these 80s cover bands that come around and they're the same ones, Night Ranger and Journey cover and Queen cover. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so I totally get it. But that's part of what I do that I focus on that I think has attributed to my success is I try very hard to understand the market and understand what these venues want and understand how to communicate and deal with them in a way that makes it easy, because everybody's like scared of the unknown. And if they don't know or don't understand, then they don't want to do it. But if I can communicate that and be like, you don't got to worry about it. I'm going to deliver you this product. I'm going to take care of all the details inside that product. And I just need to communicate to you, we're going to sell it out. You're going to increase your food and beverage drop. These fans
increase your hotel revenues.
Yeah, the fans aren't like, you're more likely to get a drunk in a nightclub start a fight on a different event than you are like a fighter start a fight at a venue. Like
Fair.
these guys, they respect fighting. They're not coming there to do that. The ones that aren't doing it in the cage.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. We're gonna have a good 2024. Like we're gonna start out of the bag, out of the gates, boom, boom, boom. Have a little month to breathe, and then we'll go back at it. And I'm looking at a few more venues, and we're gonna go. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna get to that next level. We're gonna get that UFC Fight Pass deal. I want to put Koga on the map as a Pacific Northwest. I'd like to push into Montana. There's some good organizations over there that I would like to say, hey, I'm doing this. Let's let's combine your talent with our talent and get even and better. But it all takes work and it takes time. And this game, everybody hangs on to their stuff really tight.
And as you said, it takes time, but 13 years. And would you say Koga's the best it's ever been right now, 13 years in? It's at the top. I'll say it's at the top of the Pacific Northwest. The only thing to do from here is keep doing what we're doing. And you said, take those risks, take those chances. Where can we grow? What can we do? That's exactly how to continue the process of making it even bigger and better.
Yeah, man, I want to grow. Like, it's not for me. I want to put the Pacific Northwest back on the map in the days that when I first came up, when it was Linland and Salivary and Herman and Liebman and Couture and Josh Barnett and, Brad Blackburn and Dennis Hallman. And like, there was a lot of good Maurice Smith, world champion,
Yes.
Maurice Smith, Randy Couture. All these guys are Pacific Northwest guys that I've reffed or been yelled at as a ref by them in the corner or whatever. I feel very honored and humbled to still be in the game and still doing it. And, to my dad's credit, who just passed away a couple weeks ago, like he just said, if you do the right thing, you can't fail. Like just do the right thing and bring people up with you. I can't just do it myself and try and cut corners and make more money. I got a successful gym that I'm at right now, Royal MMA, that I got student base, and I'm blessed to work with my daughter and teach jujitsu to kids and share what I love. And I got a great coaching team here that's building the fight team. And I got 2 little companies that give me a nice little living. And I really want to, it's like, I feel like I fail if I don't, like, I know I can do it. I'm really close to like taking it to the next level and landing some bigger sponsorship and getting on UFC Fight Pass and like really just teeing it up.
Yep.
Teeing Washington up and then going to like, let's go to Montana and talk to these guys at Fusion Fight League that I see have a good promotion and be like, hey, let's co-brand or whatever. Like everybody hangs on to their own thing and I get it. We did that when we were at Alliance. Everybody kind of wanted to hang on to their own thing, and it never became like Alliance, this new thing. But that's my goal. My goal is to build it to the next level, almost that of a PFL.
Nice.
But
and we're going to start doing that February 3rd at Clearwater Casino.
Yeah, and we're doing that right now with these. I mean, I appreciate you. Robbie, have been an integral piece of the puzzle that I've been looking for so many years to compliment me. Like, first off, working with you is an absolute pleasure. You're like me. You see what needs to be done and you just do it. You'll just come whisper in my ear and say, I'm doing this, or let me know, hey, so-and-so doing this. I'm taking care of this problem for you. You're not like asking me. You like, you're great. I love working with you, and turning over this social media to you is, you're going to be part of the huge success. And when Koga goes to the next level, you're going to the next level. And
I told you, it's nothing. It's fun for me. And I did my show watching these things, just talking shit. I used to come to Koga events. So now I get to be part of it. I'm in the room with you and Wendy, and we're all bouncing ideas and questions up. So I just sit back. I was talking to my friends at work Sunday morning. I had to be there at 10 a.m. and they all knew where I was. And so they're asking me questions going, yo, this was, I did the first one. The first one I did for you was at Silver Reef, was when Andy and Chance fought. And so I was telling them it felt really awesome. I came back to this one and having interviewed fighters and coaches like that. When I was there, I was walking through the casino and Leighton stopped me at one point and the Livewire guys saw me and it was all like, oh, hey man, love and respect. And I'm now on a level of being able to just talk to these guys because they know I love and respect what they're doing. I have no problem helping them get their names, get their stuff out there. They see that. And so now it really is a joint, I don't know why we started calling him Professor Chris Cope.
You're on the post show high right now. Like that show was so good, and you were part of it, like from the behind the curtain and the production and being seen and helping build it and keep it on the rails. In the meantime, like it feels good, right? You're like, I can't sleep after a show. Like I am just pumped. Like and it's like you feel like your feet aren't touching the ground when you're walking. You're kind of like, yes, awesome.
It's a real sense of accomplishment. Like we really, when you and I behind the scenes text and emails putting together this card, and then it was, okay, go ahead, start talking about it. Interview fighters, go do it. And then I got the text of like, hey, have you interviewed this fighter yet? Because this happened. Don't talk about it yet. And then, nope, go ahead, talk about it. And then we get there, the event blows up. It was great. And then even after the main event, I went back there and I saw Darren dying, just holding a bucket puking. And Brian is talking to the doctors. And I told both those guys, that was a great fight. That lived up to be a bad motherfucker. And both those guys were disappointed in their performances. But I also was like, hey, I was the one watching the fight. You guys put on a hell of a main event for me as the fan to be watching. I couldn't have asked for better. Thank you guys. And both those guys were like, man, thank you for saying that. And I was like, thank you for doing that, guys. And how you said, so Sunday when I was at work, man, we did something. We put this card together. We put on this event. These guys fought. We put on something for them to be able to show off their skills. And so, that post-fight thing was more of we did something, and we did something that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing. When I was younger in my 20s, I used to work for King County, and I used to work at the King Dome, the dome where the Seahawks played way back in the day before Safeco Field and Lumen Field. And we used to convert it like in the fall when baseball season's ending and football season starting, or late August and preseason, there's overlap. So you have to convert the stadium and throw down the AstroTurf for the baseball games, and then pull it out and put in the football games. And there was just this massive production change, but you'd see it in 2 days. And I always was just amazed by that. And I really got a lot of satisfaction out of seeing that conversion. We call them conversions. You'd convert. So I've always enjoyed that, building something and create it. 12 fights, 24 fighters, times 3 is 36 cornermen, 12 officials, a media team, a medical team. There's so much coordinating that goes on. And then you got to get 12 fighters to show up on weight or adjust if somebody misses weight and come to an agreement. It's wild. So there is a tremendous amount of satisfaction that you feel when it's all done. There's a tremendous amount of respect that you feel from your peers, guys that I really respect. That's kind of where I'm at now, is I'm grateful for I don't question myself anymore. I know.
Fair.
I don't, in the beginning, when I was first at Snoqualmie, it was we did 6 shows, and then the second year we did 9 shows, and then Snoqualmie's going to shut down. They're going to quit. They're going to bring in this guy. So-and-so is going to get it. And fighters leave you and come and go. And there was a lot of doubt. I was just the guy that was the referee that knew a guy that was able to facilitate a meeting, and I I pitched them and they bought it. And I literally drove down the hill from Snoqualmie down I-90, and I'm like, holy shit, like I got to do this now. I've never done it before. And I did it, and we sold out. And then I was just on this up streak spiral, and then it kind of dropped back down. And then there was this fear and doubt, questioning myself. But I was just learning. I was just learning the process. I learned how to have like tougher skin, that like when you get successful, maybe not everybody wants you to be successful.
And
Maybe
that's okay. Fuck them.
that effing guy, a referee, he screwed me over in one of my fights, and I'm not going to put, he shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing that. Like I'm sure there was a lot of that, but like, I just learned to like, I just got to do what I do. I just got to do my best. Not everybody's going to like me. If everybody likes me, I'm probably not doing anything.
Fair.
You know, you're gonna ruffle some feathers along the way, but that's just the business. That's really what I learned the most, you know, is just how to have thicker skin and be confident in my ability. And that's where I feel that I'm at now. I kind of reached this spot where it feels good. We're going to get, now let's go one more notch up. Let's dial it up one more level.
Rumble at the Reef. Business is good. It's feeling good. Now let's just keep it rolling. February 3rd, Clearwater Casino.
Yep. We'll
right,
talk
buddy.
soon. We'll have some future announcements coming as I put the fights together, and I'll give you more content to put out there.
Yes, sir. All right, go do gym stuff.
Thanks for your time, brother. I appreciate you. Once again, you do a
Once again,
great
the show is
job, and
presented by Combat
huge part
Kings
of Kobe's
MMA.
success.
Yes, sir. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you,
All right, sir.
Rob.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on this episode of the Neon Ghost Show. I want to thank Joe for having me be a part of the Koga family, for sitting down doing this recap with me. Follow Koga Combat Games MMA for all our events, everything going on. Thank you for being here with me, wasting some time, wasting your earlobes. And as always, you stay you, I'm going to be me, I'm going to be where I'm at. Right here, the Neon Ghost Show. And as Chuck Woolery would say, we'll be back in 2 and 2. Peace!
Hey, this is Titus, signing off at WKRP in Cincinnati.